So particle physics and accelerator. First, in this question, the last question we were discussing was question 19. Look, in question 19, the first give a reason with a reason the charge on the omega and whether it is a baryon or a meson. First, how we work out the charge, because there should be a conservation of the charge. A kaon negative is there, proton is positive, and here this is x, we don't know its charge, and then k is plus, and like this is +1, and this is neutral. But the charge should be conserved, like the total charge on the left and the right hand side will be equal. So if this 1 cancel out with 1, so what is the value of x? So x is actually equal to -1. So means this should have a negative charge, so the charge will be conserved. And the second thing they ask us, identify whether it is a baryon or a meson. Baryon means combination of 3 quarks, and meson means it's a combination of a quark and antiquark. But they mention it has a strangeness of -3. Strangeness number is only for strange particle. Every strange particle has a strangeness of -1. So means this omega is having, if it is having a strangeness of -3, means 3 strange particles will be there. Each strange particle has a strangeness of -1. So the total strangeness will be -3. And when it is a combination of 3 quarks, it means this should be a baryon. So we identify it's a baryon and it has a negative charge. The next part, we have to use a table to determine the quark composition. Now, see, according to a question, it was a K minus proton gives omega, which was negative, K was positive, K on, and then neutral was there. Now we know the composition of a proton. Proton is up, up, and down. And we know the composition of the omega, which is strange, strange, and strange. 3 strange particles are there. And they mention that the K negative is a meson. So definitely if K negative is a meson, K positive will also be a meson, K neutral will also be a meson. Meson means a combination of quark and antiquark. So the total on the left and the right should be equal. So about the K negative, the information is given, it has a negative charge with a strangeness of -1. So means K consists of strange particle. Because strangeness is -1, or there's a strange particle in K negative. Now there should be an antiparticle. Which antiparticle should be there? Because the K has a -1 charge, K minus is there. So if I have a strange particle has a charge of -1/3 times the charge of electron. So there should be an antiparticle which is having a charge of -2/3. So we get a result as -1e or -e. So which particle have a negative charge -2/3? So it can be up, it can be anti-up, it can be anti-top, or it can be anti-charge. And these 3 particles have a charge of -2/3. So means we here, because up is there, that's why we put anti-up, so they cancel out each other. So now what is the total left on the left hand side? What are the particles left? Because up and anti-up cancel out each other on the left hand side. So we are left with strange up and down. So means the resultant answer here should also be strange up and down. So here we want only 1 strange on the left. Here we have 3 strange on the left. So means how the strange particle will cancel out. So there should be anti-strange here and there should be anti-strange here. Because, and it's a meson. Meson means there should be an antiparticle. Which antiparticle will be there? So that should be anti-strange. The next is K plus and K neutral is there. How we know like about a K plus? It's a meson. So we want a net charge. Strange, anti-strange is already having a charge of +1/3. So we need a particle. And according to a question, we also need up. So if it is up here, So up and anti-strange. So now there will be an up particle. And what about this one? This should be down because it does not have a charge. The down is having a charge of minus 1 by 3 and anti-strange is plus 1 by 3. So they cancel out. And the total charge on the left hand side is like the total number of particles on the left and right are equal. Like strange and anti-strange cancel, strange and anti-strange cancel. So how many quarks composition are left? So it is strange up and down. So left hand side and right hand side is equal. That's how we always work out the particles which are missing in the structure. So we break down into like the composition for a known particle and then identify how many are left. If the particle and antiparticle are on the same side, they cancel out each other. If two particles like strange is on the left and strange is on the right, that will also cancel out each other. So this question, based on your practice, you have to learn, remember the charges and the baryon, the strangeness number. In another experiment involving a head-on collision between the two protons, the following interaction was observed. These are the masses which are given in mega electron volt per c square. What is the advantage of using a mass in mega electron volt? That when the mass is in mega electron volt per c square, that we can identify that this is the same amount of energy it will produce. Like a proton will produce 938 mega electron volt. A pi positive and a pi negative will produce 140 mega electron volt. Kaon produces 494 and the lambda particle will produce energy of 1115. Calculate the minimum kinetic energy for each proton in mega electron volt for this interaction. So first what we do, we find the total mass here, like total energy of these two, and we'll find the total energy of all the particles here. And we take a difference because let's say the total energy because of their masses is coming, example, let's say it's coming out 200 joules. And the total energy, or it is in mega electron volt, let's say it is 200 mega electron volt, and the total energy which is here is 700 mega electron. Like I need 700 mega electron volt to produce these particles, and I have only two protons which are 200 mega electron volt. So remaining of the energy, from where I will get the remaining energy? By the kinetic energy of these protons. So these protons will interact or they will have a kinetic energy. So by using their kinetic energies, the remaining what is deficit, we will balance that by the kinetic energy of the particle. So remaining 500 mega electron volt will be the kinetic energy of the particle. So that's how we calculate this. So we just have to substitute the values, like take the mega electron volt for this part and mega electron volt for this part, and then subtract to know how much additional energy you need to produce this group of particles, and that will be provided by the kinetic energy of these protons. And if we need for each, because they ask for calculate minimum energy for each proton. So after getting a total, let's say our total was 500 mega electron volt, but they ask for each, like how much each proton should carry as they are both moving. So each should carry half of it, so that when they interact, they produce that that energy plus the energy because of the mass will produce those particles. The interaction would not have take place if one proton has been stationary and the other had a twice. Why? Look what they're saying. This interaction is possible when two protons are moving, head-on collision is there, then you observe that it produces group of particles. let's say for interaction, we need 500 mega electron volt. So this carry 250 mega electron volt. This also carry 250 mega electron volt, and we observe this particle. But if we do the same interaction with in one of the proton is stationary at rest and one of the proton is moving as a twice as the energy of the initial case, but we don't observe this interaction is feasible, like it is not producing the same number of the particles. So what could be the reason for that? Because the momentum here, what happened, the momentum is both cases, the interaction, the momentum should be conserved. Like momentum before should be equals to momentum after. Here, the momentum before is zero. Momentum before is zero, so the momentum after is also zero. So, and how momentum after is zero, the particle will move in different directions. That's why group of particles can be produced. Here, what might happen that when the proton is interacting with another proton, so this might push this electron forward. So, not all of the energy is used to create the particle. Some of energy may be, but not all of them. Remaining of the energy used to push this particle as the initial momentum is not zero. So the final, as this particle was moving towards the right. So initial momentum is towards right. So final momentum should also be towards the right hand side. So what might happen when a proton with a twice energy interacting with a proton which is stationary, this interaction will not produce a group of particles because the initial momentum is not zero. So the final will not be zero as well. Or the momentum won't be like the resultant momentum is towards the right hand side. But in the first interaction, the two particles were moving in opposite direction. So as a result, as they move in opposite direction, initial momentum is zero. So the final will also be zero. And to have a final momentum zero, group of particles can be produced. So that's how you have to relate the answer there. Then the question is, this was a question, this the same in the Cambridge as well. The if you have studied the positron emission tomography, in a positron emission tomography, what we do, we inject a radioactive source, which is mainly a beta positive emitter in the body, which interact with the electron and releases the energy from inside the body, and we detected it from outside. So this positron emission tomography, the technique which is used to create a three-dimension image of a body. So what happened in a PET, a low energy positron collide with electron to produce a pair of a gamma traveling in opposite direction. The gamma photons are detected and used to form an image. Name the process involved in production of a gamma. So what we call when a positron and electron interact with each other, we call annihilation. Annihilation is there. Calculate the maximum wavelength of a gamma photon produced. So the interaction is like here we have the constant. What is happening? A electron is interacting with a positron. So we consider their mass converted into energy. Like the kinetic energy, we consider initially we're not providing any energy. The electrostatic force causes attraction and they annihilate and releases the photon. It always the two photons in opposite direction. So the mass converted into energy. So we use the formula E is equals to mc square. Mass of one is 9.11 into 10 to the power minus 31. But there are two of them. One is because antiparticles have the same mass but opposite charge and the speed of a light square, which is 3 into 10 to the power 8 square. So this will give us how much energy? What's the answer for the energy? 3 exponent 8 square multiplied by 9.11 exponent minus 31 times 2. This is 1.64 into 10 to the power minus 13 joules. So we got the energy, and then this is the energy for two of them, like the total energy released in this, but we need energy for one of them, so the total energy, it will be divided by 2. So basically it's like 1.64 is there. It is 1.64 divided by 2, which is 0.82. So energy will be equals to 0.82 into 10 power minus 3. Why we divided by 2? Because each photon carry a same equal amount. That this is the total energy which is produced in this interaction and annihilation. So then we have the formula E is equals to hc over lambda, or E is equals to hf. So if I need a lambda, so that is a Planck's constant divided by C E. So Planck constant is 6.64 into 10 power minus 34. C is the speed of a light, which is 3 into 10 power 8, and lambda is the energy, that is 0.82 into 10 power minus 3. So we got the 2.4 into 10 power minus 12 meter. So that is the wavelength of a photon which will be emitted out. So these are some questions from the particle physics.